The worst part of the NBA season is finally behind us. The weird schedules, the random 2-game weeks, the chaos, it's finally over. And now we're entering the most important stretch of the fantasy season, consistency. This is where leagues are won. The managers who lock in the right players before the breakout, before the opportunity becomes obvious, are the ones who pull away from the pack. Today we're talking about players who are still flying underneath the radar and the ones stepping into bigger roles because of injuries. And if you want to get ahead instead of chasing, this is the week to do it. Welcome back to The Corner, your number one destination for everything fantasy basketball related. Every single week, I'm giving you guys waiver targets, trade advice, sleeper picks, and everything else you need to stay one step ahead of your fantasy basketball leagues. If you've been enjoying the content, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a single upload. Now, let's get to the video. This is not the first time I've talked about Keldon Johnson this season, and it probably won't be the last, because every single time we think his role is just about the strength, he just keeps on producing. The Spurs, even when they're close to full health, they have shown that they are one of the most dominant teams in the NBA right now. And that's true even with Wemby is not on the floor. Johnson has quietly been a massive part of that success over the last month. Since November 16th, Keldon Johnson has not had a single game under 10 points. And over the past 2 weeks, he's averaging right around 28 fantasy points per night. That's not flashy, but it is incredibly valuable for fantasy managers, especially during the stretch of the season where consistency matters more than upside alone. The Spurs are currently sitting at 17-7, fighting near the top of the West, and Johnson has locked himself into a reliable role in that rotation. What really blows my mind is that he's still only rostered in 17% of leagues right now, and that number is actually dropping heading into the weekend. A lot of that is because Stephon Castle has finally returned from his injury as well. But here's the key point. Johnson's production did not fall off when Castle came back from his injury. His minutes stayed solid, his usage stayed steady, and the Spurs clearly trust him at this point of his career. This is the kind of player that you want on your roster during a stable stretch of the season. He is reliable, proven, and still wildly overlooked. If he's available, I will go grab him right now. Next, we have Jay Huff, and he has been playing really well over the past couple of weeks for the Pacers. And this is something I actually called a couple of weeks ago. I said that as the season went on, Huff was going to start seeing more minutes and more opportunity. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now. The Pacers gave both Isaiah Jackson and Huff a real chance to win the starting center role, and Huff has clearly taken advantage of it. At this point, it looks like he's starting to separate himself from Isaiah Jackson and getting a more consistent run at the starting minutes, even pushing into starter level minutes every single night over Isaiah Jackson. He's been efficient, he's doing all the little things in the court, and the coaching staff seems to be way more comfortable with him on the floor right now. That being said, this is going to be a low priority ad for this week specifically. The Pacers only have 2 games this week, and the first one doesn't even tip off until Thursday night. So you're not getting immediate volume from Jay Huff this week, but if you're in a deeper league or planning ahead, or you're just dominating your league and you just want to get the best players available, Huff is absolutely a name you should be watching right now. The trend is real and the role looks like it's going to stick. Next up, we have Najee Marshall. The Mavericks right now are starting to play much better basketball, and we're finally starting to see that translate into fantasy production from the role players. And Najee Marshall is at the center of that. He struggled to open up the season, but over the last 2 weeks, he has completely flipped that script, averaging around 33 fantasy points per game. And the eye test also backs it up. Right now, Najee Marshall is only rostered in about 15% of ESPN leagues, which is just way too low for the role he's playing right now. If he's sitting on your waiver wire in your league, I think this is going to be a must-add player in most formats, especially in points leagues. He is getting consistent minutes, he's involved on both ends of the floor, and he's not relying on one single stat to get there every night. The Mavericks are starting to build real momentum. They're currently 9-16, but they're still right in the mix for the final play-in spot in the West. And that matters a lot for fantasy basketball. You'd expect Najee Marshall's production to dip with the return of Anthony Davis, but that has not happened so far. His role looks secure, the confidence is there, and it feels like one of those ads you make before everyone else starts to catch on. Next, we have Jalen Wells. And the Memphis Grizzlies have honestly been a complete dumpster fire so far this season, but somehow they're still managing to be competitive in the West and they're in the playoff picture. And that's where Jalen Wells starts to matter for fantasy basketball. Wells came into the year with some real hype around his name, but he struggled out of the gate. And then he got buried by Cedric Coward, who came out swinging to start the first couple games of the season. But over the last couple of games, this last stretch, the roles have clearly flipped on the Memphis Grizzlies. Wells has caught fire, the confidence is back, and the minutes are starting to stabilize. Right now, he's only rostered in about 7% of leagues out there, which tells me that most people are still sleeping on him after his slow start. That is a mistake. This is the kind of player you add before the breakout fully shows up in the box score. Now, John Morant is expected to come back from his calf injury, I believe tonight as I'm recording this video, but if not, then he should be back very, very soon. Yes, John Morant's return is going to cap Jalen Wells' raw output scoring just a bit, but it should also unlock cleaner looks for Jalen Wells, especially from three. Less defensive attention, better shot quality, and a more organized offense all works in Wells' favor. He's not a league winner player, but in a week where value is thin, Wells is the exact type of flyer you want on your roster. The last player on this list is going to be another Grizzly, and that's Santi Aldama. Santi has quietly been one of the most consistent players on the Memphis Grizzlies all season. His numbers aren't going to jump off the page, but night after night, he gives you solid production, and that matters in weeks like this. With Zach Edey expected to now miss 2 to 4 weeks with a leg injury, Santi should see more time on the floor alongside Jaren Jackson Jr., and that alone raises his floor. And with also John Morant returning, the offense should be a lot more organized going forward, which usually leads to better looks and slight bump in usage for role players like Santi. Another name to keep your eye on is going to be Jock Landale as well. Landale has proven time and time again that when his minutes climb, he can put up very strong fantasy numbers. He's not a lock by any means necessary, but he's absolutely worth mentioning and in deeper leagues worth adding right now. The Grizzlies only play 3 games this week coming up, and their last game is on a Saturday. So this isn't a schedule play at all. This is more about role stability and opportunity. And Santi checks both boxes right now, and so does Jock Landale. So these are going to be my must-add players for this week going into week 9. We're finally past that weird part of the season. The schedule is starting to stabilize, and the injuries are piling up around the league. Opportunity is everywhere. This is the point where staying active on the wire separates the contenders from everyone else in the league. Before you go, you need to watch the video that's on your screen right now. In that video, I break down the player you should seriously be considering trading away as we head into the middle half of the season. It pairs perfectly with this video. Thanks for stopping by the corner. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.